All right, welcome everyone, and thank you for tuning in for this episode. Super excited to bring this special episode to you guys. But before we do, Jason, how are you doing?
Oh, doing good. Yeah, I'm also excited for this episode and our guest speaker today. Really excited for it.
Yeah, and we'll just talk a little bit about that. So on today's episode, we have a special conversation with Kaipo Crowell. We're going to talk about the softer side of retirement planning, and just really excited to bring him to you. He's the former nuclear engineering and planning manager at Pearl Harbor and is currently serving as the executive director at Kakou Professional Development. So with that, Kaipo, thank you so much for being here. And tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? And yeah, whatever you want to share with us.
Right on. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Jason. Aloha. And thank you for your guys' service, too. I really appreciate you getting that information out, especially those entering retirement. So I grew up in Kaimoki. I'm a local boy. I got two older brothers. My dad is a lifetime Army person. So he was deployed a lot in combat. But he retired from the Army and then went into the hotel business and to state government business. So I grew up in a very disciplined household. My mom was a teacher for the Department of Education here in Hawaii. So they had pretty good pensions too. They had pretty good retirements, and they kind of modeled some of the principles that I look forward to in retirement, because I saw them when they retired. They enjoyed it, a lot. And my childhood is focused on faith, family, and education, and really that continues to be my focus now with my family. But I come from a pretty large Hawaiian family on my dad's mom's side. I mean, I used to tell my kids, you better watch out who you go out with, because it could be your cousin. I mean, you can throw a rock and you probably hit one of my cousins. I got a pretty big family.
Wow.
And so, big families, what was kind of ingrained in me early on is, man, you're not doing things for yourself. You represent, your family. So do things right and do things the right way. But I went to Kamehameha High School, Kamehameha Schools, actually. I started in 7th grade, graduated there, and then went to the University of Portland in Oregon, got my mechanical engineering degree. But more importantly, that's where I met my wife, and who's I've been married to for 36 years. It's kind of funny too. We both kind of grew up on the island, but we never met each other till we go to college.
Wow.
And so we've been married for 36 years. We got 3 kids. 2 of my daughters live in the mainland now, and my son's still here at home here. But we lived a comfortable life. Right out of college, I got hired at the shipyard as a nuclear engineer, and not a lot of people knew. I mean, shoot, even me, I didn't know we had nuclear reactors in Hawaii. So nuclear engineering was going to be, something unique for me. But I trained and qualified to be a nuclear engineer, and I stayed in the shipyard for 38 years. So I loved the shipyard. I loved everything about my career. I mean, shoot, it was stressful, it was hard times, but man, I love the people and I love the mission of the shipyard. I was fortunate enough to hear from commanding officers from nuclear powered submarines coming back from deployment on, their mission and what they did for our country.
Wow.
So I was pretty stoked about that.
Yeah.
But I retired, and like I said, I call it refreshed, because I don't feel tired. I feel fresh in April 2021. So it's almost 2.5 years now that I've been in refreshment, and I'm enjoying it. And for those of you who really don't know much about the shipyard, it is the largest industrial employer in the state. I mean, we got 6,000 people there.
Wow.
We bring about a $1 billion to the economy a year, to the state of Hawaii's economy, usually mostly in salaries. But our mission was really to keep the ships maintained and modernized. But I got to tell you, and I'm going to cover this as one of the lessons there, it was pretty high stress. I mean, when I was the senior exec, so there's one SES, or senior executive service member, at each of the public shipyards. And when I became an SES, you become responsible for the entire performance of the shipyard. But I was more concerned about the safety of our people, the safety of our sailors, the safety of our environment, especially, I was responsible for 19 nuclear reactors, 3 of them in Guam. and so many times where we had to work on special missions on getting the submarines deployed. But I had many challenges during my career at the shipyard. We went through a reduction in force, a RIF. I had to let go like thousands of people from the shipyard. We almost got closed from the Base Realignment and Closure Act. But probably the most significant challenge I ever went through was our active shooter event on December 4th on 2019. I mean, you work at a place where it's almost like my family business. I knew almost everybody in the shipyard, 6,000 people, and you just come so close to the people. And that's, you know, that's really what kept me going for 38 years was the people and the mission. And I have no regrets. I mean, I did a lot of things wrong. I had a lot of mistakes, a lot of learning opportunities now that I look back. And I think one of the shortcomings was, you know, I never started planning for retirement until about 4 years out, 3 to 4 years out. And so I wish I knew you guys 20 years ago, you know, so that I could start, you know, really planning it, really looked out. But as it worked out, you know, as I look now, if I were to think about how I wanted my retirement to be, it's exactly what I'm doing right now. Awesome. So, you know, it's never too late. And I think one of the lessons learned is start as early as you can, but it's just start, you know, it's never too late. So, I think one of the things about retirement, it's just another season in somebody's life. You know, if you think of our lives as like a long run-on sentence, retirement for me was like a comma in the sentence. There's so much more left in the sentence, you know, in your life. So before I retired, I started focusing, gee, what are the real priorities in life? And this would be one of my recommendations for anybody kind of looking forward towards retirement. You know, I think I just read an article that said, you know, reframe the thought about retirement. You know, create a life that you never have to retire from.
That's good.
So, you know, I started thinking about what are the priorities that I should start doing now before I retired? And it kind of focused in on 6 F's that I thought about: my faith, my family, my fitness, my finances, my friends, and fun. And then if I could put that in before I retired in my schedule and make it a priority, then as soon as you retire, it's just part of your life.
Right.
And for many, many years, I never took care of my fitness. You know, I was stressed and mentally not healthy.
I don't know, Kaipo, sorry to cut in there. I remember, so I myself, I used to be an electrician at the shipyard.
Yeah.
Like you, I loved the people and I loved everything about it. I kind of made a pivot for a passion of doing what I'm doing now. But I recall seeing you in the gym there at 4:35 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. And that's what changed a lot. You know, even when COVID came, I started running at 4:30 in the morning. But before that, you know, I got really sick about 12 years ago now. And ever since after that, you take your health for granted, you know? And so you just got to get into that habits that you want to form. And if I had one strong recommendation, is that you schedule your priorities. Like if you really have priority of family, man, I put it in my schedule.
Right.
You know, I want to spend time with my wife. I value my time with my wife. Hey, Wednesday, we're going to happy hour every Wednesday. And that started before I retired. And it goes right into your retirement. Whatever you value should be part of your schedule. I still keep a schedule. It's more flexible now. I mean, I don't have to go to meetings and stuff like that. But I mean, you know, whatever you value should just be part of your habits, your schedule. And so, you know, I started that before I retired. So it just became a normal transition. But I got to tell you this, what I learned is, so I'm going to do, you know, when I retired, I'm going to spend so much time with my wife. No, because she has her own habits, right? So I'm over there, I'm going, oh, what are we going to do on Monday? What are we going to do this week? She goes, wait a minute. She's been retired for a year. Yeah, I got my things.
She's got her time blocked off.
So that's one thing that I think that I didn't foresee is, man, you're going to be home with your family. It's going to be different than before. You're going to see each other a lot more. So how do you not get sick of each other? And it got to come back to your own habits. You know, what are you going to do?
It's so good.
So I started just, circling and identifying what are my habits that I'm going to work on. And sleep was a big one. I could hardly sleep when I was working. I was on call 24/7, and I was worried about a lot of things that I couldn't even control. And that was part of the health part that I didn't take care of. So sleep is, if anything in retirement, and that's like one of the best things is sleep. And I don't sleep that. I still get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, but I have, a good sleep. Fitness was a big thing. I'm still working out every day, but I picked up pickleball, and I'm crap. I mean, I suck. But the good part is you try something new, right? And you meet new people, but you're still working out. You're still, doing fitness. The other part I learned too, that I didn't realize at work, but every day at work was a learning opportunity. I learned something every day from people, from experiences, and I didn't want to lose that in retirement. So I never thought I would do this, but I'm pretty active on social media. And not so much on Twitter, but LinkedIn is pretty informative. And so I read a lot. I read a lot of articles or newsletters, some books. But learning became so important during retirement. But that got to be intentional, because it's not going to come to you like how it did at work. Like I learned at work. What was that?
Oh, social media really is what you make of it, right?
Yes.
And there's a lot of good things that come from it, rather than just the endless doom scrolling of nonsense, right? There's a lot of good info there.
Oh yeah, and you got to be intentional about that. But I also learned you got to keep up with technology. My mom, she just passed away, 95 years old, and one of the disadvantages that I wish I taught her sooner was to use social media or just be ahead on technology. Like, man, I'm going to learn about AI, and I'm going to learn as much as I can, because it's going to be on us. And I'm not going to be one of those old guys in the back saying, yeah, let that go. Like my mom did. We couldn't even do FaceTime with her because she didn't know how to use. So I regret not teaching her earlier, but I'm going to keep up in technology, and learning is important. I tell you, one of the things that I thought I was going to miss the most from work is relationships and the connections that I have. And then come to find out, I'm even staying in touch more and more with more people now in retirement.
Really? That's I would think for most people it would be the opposite. Like, you retire, you have this, because I know especially the shipyard, there's camaraderie, everybody, and you just don't see them on the day to day. It's got to be a little more effort to maintain those relationships.
It got to be intentional. Like I purposely meet somebody each week from the shipyard. We go to lunch, we call, we talk story. And it's a bunch of people. Sometimes we go 5 times a week. We'll go out, 5 different people. But it's more than just the shipyard people. Like, just like even new things that you do. Pickleball. Man, I met so much new people. Pickleball, or and I'll talk a little bit about what I do now at Kakou Professional Development. But it's just reaching out, being kind of uncomfortable, and meeting new people and enjoying the people. And I tell you, the other part that I didn't realize is reconnecting with people you haven't connected for so many years because you're working, like all my high school classmates, or my friends from previous experiences, my college friends. So and this is one thing that I wish I did earlier, was make those connections while you're still working. You don't have to wait till you're retired to continue those connections. But the other part is, I convinced myself that I wasn't going to work after I retired. I got so many offers as soon as I retired to be a government contractor. I said, no, I'm not going to. If I'm going to do something for the shipyard, I would have just stayed. But so I started my own company. It's a consulting company, Kakou Professional Development. And when I first started it, the intention was to do leadership development, professional development, workshops, coaching. And so, I did that as soon as I got out. I mean, people reached out. So I was doing that, but then I started getting connected more and more to the community and to small businesses. And so what I do now, I think my internet's kind of going in and out. So
oh yeah, you're good now. You're good now.
So what I do now is okay. So what I do now in Kakou professional development, I do consulting on hooking up local businesses, primarily technology and manufacturing businesses with Department of Defense needs, primarily the shipyard. And I try to introduce the shipyard to new technologies out there so that they can, help productivity at the shipyard. And so that I can connect the local communities, the local businesses, but also continue to help the shipyard. Because like I said, I miss the mission. And I'm hoping that we continue to get better because we're struggling in nationwide, we're struggling on ship maintenance. And so that's what I do now in Kakou professional development. And the other part I'm really working on is workforce development efforts to keep our local people here in Hawaii so that they can work here, primarily in the trades. I got to tell you, we don't encourage our kids to go into trades too much.
Right.
I'm guilty of that too. Hey, you're gonna go be an accountant, or you're gonna go into business, go into engineering. Shoot, I've seen you folks do, what you do in the trades, and I appreciate that. So I'm getting more and more involved in the high schools, in the trade schools here, trying to look at how we can feed our local talent, and not only into the shipyard, but construction is going to be big here in Hawaii, right? Think of all the military construction. I mean, we're going to break ground for Dry Dock 5 next Saturday. I mean, that's big money for the state. Why not keep? What I fear is they're going to bring in 2,500 construction workers from the mainland instead of having the talent here. So that's why I'm working hard in Kakou professional development, on workforce development, connecting, just connecting local companies to help the Department of Defense, and really try to reach out and help whatever I can for the shipyard and for the Navy. In fact, I just started volunteering for this National Shipbuilding Research Program, NSRP, and it's nationwide. And I work with the building shipyards, primarily the builders, Newport News, Electric Boat, Huntington Ingalls. But we look for improvements on how to get, how to build, maintain, and modernize Navy ships, better. So that's what, to me, I think one of the things that I knew that I wanted to do was serve after I retired. And, I thought that's probably the best way I could serve.
No, that's great. It sounds like, unlike most, like I would think, and, I'm just using my personal experience. Some people are looking for things to do in retirement. It sounds like you've got your plate completely full with all great stuff right out of the gate, huh?
Yeah. And it's got to be balanced, for me, it got to be balanced.
Sure.
I can't play. I mean, the people part is probably the most rewarding, meeting new people, staying in touch with new people, watching people grow. You know what I really enjoy is seeing the shipyard do better, or seeing like all the people that, I used to mentor or work with start becoming department heads at the shipyard, and keep in touch with them. I go, man, this is my dream. This is what I look forward to, seeing people just raised up. I go, wow. And I'm just so proud of them. And that I do stay busy.
Can I ask you, was there any nervousness or anxiety or angst just making that kind of big decision financially, and just with your identity, right? A lot of us, your identity starts to become your profession as much as you might try to separate it, especially for somebody who successful like yourself. Was there any like I don't want to say loss of identity, but any change in how you felt about yourself, or was there any anxiety about is this the right time, or how did you know it was the right time?
So absolutely, right. Absolutely. There was a nervousness of not having the identity that you had at work. I was actually going to retire earlier But when the active shooting event happened, I said, I'm staying on until we finish Columbia, which was the project that we had that active shooter on. But so I stayed on longer than, you know, I had planned, just because I wanted to be there to just see my people just kind of succeed and just move on. But I tell you, the hardest identity was being the boss, man, because when you retire, you're not a boss. It ain't no boss,
right.
you know? And, you know, and the boss part was kind of ego. You think about it, you know, shoot. And so, boy, I had to humble myself a lot. And when I look back, I go, man, I wish I had that humility attitude a lot sooner, because it would have made the transition a lot easier. But it happened pretty quick, because my wife would humble me, my grandkids humble me, and I'll talk a little bit more about, you know, my real priorities in retirement. But I think everybody's going to go through that. You know, you think about it, 38 years, right? A nuclear engineer for 38 years. Who are you? And so if you can start going back to, like I said, you know, start getting into the habits of what you value, scheduling what you value, who you are, know your values of who you are first, it becomes easier. But that's one of my advice is, you know, to plan for that transition, is to get it into your schedule now and start working that through. And you know what? Let it happen. I mean, let the being uncomfortable happen. I mean, you learn and you grow, right?
Right.
But my priorities right now in retirement is taking care of my grandkids. And they all live in the mainland. So my two daughters live in the mainland. So when my wife and I retired, we knew one of our priorities was to go up there and help them, because they don't have a lot of family in the mainland. And we want them to realize, hey, you guys are from Hawaii, you guys Hawaiian, you guys got to know your roots. You got to know your kupuna. You got to know the stories. So we go up there pretty frequent. In fact, we just brought back my two oldest grandkids. They stay with us over the summer, over the week. But to me, that's our priorities. And that's why I've been writing a lot. That's another thing too, is that, man, you have a lot of time to reflect and start writing down a lot of things that you learn that you can pass on. You know, and a lot of people journal now. I didn't know what journaling was, but I write for intention to pass on we all have gifts. We all have experiences. If we can just capture that and pass them on to our kids and our grandkids, I think that's going to be very valuable. The good, the bad, the ugly. Because at least now I got time to do that. And I try to pass that on to especially my grandkids. But that is my priority right now. And we knew that when we planned that out, you know, when we're retiring, we're going to spend more time with them. So we go up pretty frequent, spend time with them. I just have couple final kind of retirement planning things to think about. Financial planning is so important. You folks provide a valuable service. If people don't have professional financial planners, they need you folks. You know, and I'm pretty fortunate. My wife is very good at finances. I mean, she was an accountant, but she chose to go teach at Punahou. But she is very good. But I think one of the I think things that we did well was every financial decision, financial goal, financial vision, we did it together. It was joint, and it was a dialogue, and it was disagreements. Sure. We were never kind of high spenders. We don't buy a lot, but we were very. My dad taught us my dad sat down me and my wife before we got married and said, the one thing that's going to keep a relationship together is a healthy financial plan. So stay healthy financially, and your relationship should be solid. So we kept that, kind of a priority with us. Our TSP plans was good.
Right.
Pension is awesome. I mean, I was CSRS.
Okay, gotcha. Right.
So, there's nobody else is in CSRS already. I think FERS is it. But what we'd learn real quick about financial planning, get down to the details, from health insurance, life insurance, long-term health insurance, right. Get into the details, spousal, the spousal, what do you call that? I didn't realize that.
The benefit for
the spousal benefits.
Yeah.
Oh, you got it. Yeah.
Go ahead. No, and so I see all the time, and especially at the shipyard, you work a lot, you love what you do. I think it's important. What do you think for people, 5 years out, to really take that time, sit down and really plan things out? Because a lot of people have like an idea. Well, I know I have this and this. It's really like intentional to get organized. Yeah. And even if your plan or your projection doesn't pan out, at least you have something, you're kind of like some, guiding star that you're working towards, right?
Exactly. And nowhere, like, everything we started talking about was, okay, are we buying that to buy it, or are we investing? We're going to get another apartment, or you're going to do this. So we always were thinking about the investment part. And the other part is we wanted to go, we had a lot of goals. I mean, we still want to go buy an RV and go drive across the country. We're going to do that. Awesome. I mean, but I think it's important you sit down even before 5 years, in my opinion, because you can always refine it as you get closer.
Sure.
What's going to be your expenses, what's going to be your liabilities, what's going to be your assets, and just be clear about it. And my wife's real good about putting in a spreadsheet. She can show me, she can walk me through it. So I'm hoping that more and more, I wish they taught financial planning in high school and middle school.
Right.
And that's what you guys should do. Go teach the kids.
Yeah, no, that would be useful. Yeah, no, I mean, it's a great skill that's kind of not really focused on in the curriculum.
Yeah. So we're pretty set, and so the government's been good, but you know what? Government work, I think we get a lot of jazz about government workers, but I've seen I know a lot of hardworking government workers, and I worked hard, and so I want to enjoy my retirement too. So
sure. Can I ask you, just about expectations in retirement? So I think it's hard for a lot of people to get a vision of, and I find this when I sit down with clients, is what does your retirement look like while they're working? And it's a hard thing to answer, and they got to come up with their own vision of what it might be. And sometimes it's a grandiose vision, sometimes it's a, and it just, did your vision or expectations meet your kind of retirement, vision or expectations? And do you have any advice for kind of thinking about kind of designing or what that'll look like?
I think to tell you the truth, I really feel like our reality exceeded our expectations.
Oh, good.
Yeah. We didn't set real high expectations, but we refine it every year now, and we start setting higher and higher expectations. But I would go back to, what do you value? And like I said, the faith, the family, because we knew we need to put together a financial plan to always go to visit our family. We always wanted to bring them home. We always wanted to. And so part of that financial plan is maybe go buy an apartment in California where they live. And so we got all, those, but it had to be kind of, we put it in categories. Fun. We wanted to go traveling, at least, out of the country once a, so we just have to puka what we wanted to do. The RV is still up there. It's one of the fun things, one of the experiences, right? And so now, to me, what we're doing in retirement is spending on experiences more than anything else. So I think people just got to go think about what are the experiences that they want to anticipate, when they retire. But we didn't have, I mean, my wife still drives, I better not see this too loud because she gets pissed at it, but she still drives a 20-year-old car, her 4Runner. We don't buy a lot of things, but we love experiences.
Right.
We like to go through stuff, right? So, but I always think you folks can help kind of give them ideas. The financial planners we've had were really good about saying, hey, what about this? What about that? They ask good questions. And so, and my wife was really good about, asking them good questions too. So I think you, in my opinion, you need some outside help to kind of set your goals, your expectations.
Sure. And the other end of the spectrum of, you definitely need to map that out. And then sometimes I see individuals, they're savers their whole life and they do a good job and they have the 20-year-old car and they can't flip the switch to, hey, you're in retirement, you have the means, be a spender, enjoy it while you can. And that's hard for some people to wrap their heads around.
Yeah. Sometimes we don't want to take risks,
Right. Sure. Yeah. No, and it's understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, but sometimes that's what I see myself doing is encouraging spending because you're like you said, you worked 38 years and now you're in retirement, take that trip, buy that RV if that's really what you want to do, You
know what? One of the things that we thought of too is, we got to set up our kids for this. We got to set up our grandkids for this. We want to make sure they got this. And then we started thinking, why? They got their lives too, and we got to go live our lives. So, we'll put some stuff aside for them, but hey, let's not on the detriment for us not living our lives, And I think sometimes that holds people back. So, shoot, what about, have our kids start, their house or, so I think we just got to take some risk to go do what we want to go do.
Awesome.
I think the most fulfilling thing, but that I can recommend is find an opportunity to serve. Where it is, serve your family. Like we think we're serving our family by taking care of our grandkids and our kids. Serve the community, because man, you just feel fulfilled.
Sure. No, that's super important.
Yeah. I mean, that's all I had, unless you had, any questions or.
Absolutely. I love it. I think that's a great place to wrap it up. Kaipo, thank you so much for coming on. And Paul, you have anything else?
No, I think this is awesome. And I really hope our listeners take a lot of this to heart. I love your passion about, being refreshed, finding your values, communicating with your family and your, especially your wife or your significant other, as you kind of like move into that phase. So again, Kaipo, we really appreciate your time. We appreciate your service to all those men and women that you serve for so many years. So yeah, with that, thank you so much, listeners, for being with us today. Hope you found it value, and we look forward to our next episode.
The opinions and statements presented on this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations. Never make any investment or financial decisions based on information offered on this show without first consulting your financial, legal, or tax advisor. All economic and performance information mentioned on the show is historical in nature and is not indicative of any future results. All indices mentioned on this show are unmanaged and cannot be invested in directly. All information is believed to be from reliable sources. However, we make no representation as to its completeness or accuracy. Lastly, all opinions expressed by Jason Katita, Paul McWilliams, and any guests on the show are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of or are endorsed by ToBA Financial or Inspire Advisors. For Jason Katita, investment advisory services are offered through ToBA Financial LLC, a registered investment advisor offering advisory services in the state of Hawaii and in other jurisdictions where exempt from registration. And for Paul McWilliams, investment advisory services are offered through Inspire Advisors LLC, a registered investment advisor with the SEC.